simple fact that the way that media investment is directed is totally changing. That is to say that it's kind of not the end of the 30-second TV spot, the newspaper ad, the radio ad, etc. But they are dying. I mean, they're less and less relevant. More and more money is going to online advertising. And the last figure that I saw was that 12% of global advertising spend. Damn, I thought that was Kuiper news. Thanks anyway. 12% of total advertising spend in the last 12 months went to making content which was either branded or brand associated. So rather than going, we are brilliant, it's like, we're going to tell you a story and then you'll like us. Because it works. It's you know, it's the new way to go, and it's really gathering force. And the idea of branded content, which is kind of a naff phrase, is hugely powerful and influential these days, very relevant, I think. I mean, when we were chatting about this earlier, you said, yeah, that's what Mixcloud's all about, right? I mean, explain that, please.
Do you mind if I give you a very, very brief plotted history of the brand? Because I think it provides a really interesting context to why brands create content and why brands care about trying to engage their audiences, and actually what is a brand. So brands first came about in the 19th century as a way to differentiate your product based on its functional superiority. So if you're making a bar of soap and you are Unilever and your soap is better than your competitors, you need to tell them that, right, somehow, so that people buy your product based on how much better it is. So they put a brand on it, right? They physically branded it with a name to suggest that this is a better product than the other one. Then,
no worries.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry
from Adelaide.
Yeah, so
you missed the intro, so you're going to be all at sea now. Okay.
Yeah, so very, very quick history. Post kind of World War, post-industrial revolution really, product superiority became more and more difficult because the technology evolved very quickly, and a lot of products in the same market would be functionally quite similar. It's very difficult to make a chocolate bar that is better than your competitors, or a box of cereal that's better than your competitors. So brands started to differentiate on what they call emotional value rather than functional value. So they try and build a relationship with their audiences based on describing who they are, their personality, their values, and trying to demonstrate that I understand you and you understand me. We speak the same language, therefore you should buy my brand rather than my competitor. So we live now in an age of, emotional value is much more important now in terms of the way brands speak to us compared to functional value, because functionally they are all equal. And now we live in an age where consumers can choose the media they engage with, which means that it's very, very important for brands to tell this story of how they emotionally connect with you in a way that you choose to engage with it. So that's kind of very briefly why brands actually care about telling emotional stories, how they create value, why you spend more money on them, because they appeal to you. And that's why now brands are very, very interested in using different channels to distribute content that you actually choose to engage with, rather than pushing a message to you.
Sure. Greg, when we were chatting earlier, you mentioned Bench, was it?
Yeah. So my name's Grego. I work for Resident Advisor. I look after RA in Latin America. I live in Ibiza, so I did Ibiza in Spain as well. The way, this is kind of an interesting one for me because it's not something I'm kind of totally involved with, but we kind of see it from a different angle. Yeah, we're on the receiving end. So, and a couple of examples we've come across recently have been, well, Red Bull was the classic example, we'll come on to that in a minute, but Bench, they recognised that Resident Advisor had a massive audience of their target, 18 to 30 or within that age, people with disposable income, people who want to look good. So the fashion label Bench, they decided to fund us. We got a deal where they funded a video series called Real Scenes, which was kind of a very different kind of video in electronic music because it wasn't a promotional video, it was an actual documentary about 12 minutes long, and we've gone on to do a few of these. And they didn't really get anything out of it other than the association and the branding that went along with having that video powered by or sponsored by Bench. And it's kind of like, we talked about Red Bull just before we started the panel, and this is almost exclusively what they seem to do now. It's they only do kind of like brand association, gimmick style advertising, whether it's the guy who jumped from outer space or whether it's the they do the sea, how to describe it, the sea, Red Bull flying the sea. What's that one?
The fluke tag.
Huh?
Fluke tag.
Fluke tag. No, and they do these in kind of boards, and it's purely just
those maniacs going over the bridges.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, you know, it's traditional in no sense of the word. It's completely, you know, out there, and what they're trying to do is just, there's almost no direct benefit that you can see from that other than the fact that Red Bull are doing this crazy event. And that's gone to such an extent with Red Bull that now they have the Red Bull Music Academy, which it's taken on a life of its own. It has events almost daily around the world that they're associated with. And they also have a massive archive of music, incredible content, and they've recognised that giving that good content and giving that kind of angle of the scene and trying to reach their audience that way is much more effective than just saying, what's the catchphrase, gives you wings.
Yeah, well, I mean, when was the last time you saw that old advert, Red Bull gives you wings? I mean, it's over. You know, it serves no useful purpose. And the funny thing is that in the days when most or all advertising money went to campaigns on TV, radio, etc., there was no transparency. I mean, it was like the amount of bullshit that swirled around the advertising industry as to how effective something was astonishing, right? I mean, really. And these days, I mean, especially when you've got an online campaign, it's all about the hits, it's all about the paid views, etc. It's very, very transparent, and it's driving. I mean, it's one of many things which is driving a huge change. There's a really, I mean, I think this is a funny one. Amex, they do that unstaged concert series, right? Now, I can't think of a brand that's more kind of guy in a business suit rubbish than Amex, right? It's really an uncool brand. So they've done this series of beautifully filmed shows by acts, sadly none of which are EDM or electronic or whatever. I mean, they've had Usher, Jay-Z, Coldplay, Sting, you know, the usual suspects. But they are unbelievably beautiful. I mean, they had Terry Gilliam doing, what's that awful play? Arcade Fire. Terry Gilliam filmed the concert of Arcade Fire, and it was genius. I mean, honestly, that band drives me mad. I can't stand it. But the production, I mean, it's all in Super HD. It's just so lush, and then the stuff interjected, and you know, they're owning your ass because you're there for an hour or an hour and a half in front of the concert, and it's doing it to you. You know, and the
you don't even know that it's being done.
It's pretty insidious, actually. Yeah. I mean, obviously they're present, but I mean, but what they also do, the way they leverage it, is by offering Amex card holders early doors tickets for the actual concert, so they can be in the audience, which obviously there's massive demand to be because it's a big act. It's very clever what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of plays more to utility than to mass communication. I mean, you know, the thing is, mass media and advertising is certainly not dead, even in a world of increasing branded content. And you know, you talk about how Red Bull, we perceive them to only do these cool things. Actually, that's not true. Red Bull still do spend a huge amount of money on above-the-line marketing, on TV, on billboards, on print. But they supplement that with stories that are told through these campaigns they do, which you know, I think the key word, what I like to think of with these kind of things is it provides utility. It actually gives people within a specific scene, whether you're into sports, whether you're into dance music, whether you're into dancing, it gives you something that you know, the brand provides that wouldn't otherwise have existed without their investment. I mean, the RA Real Scenes thing is a great example. If you haven't seen them, thoroughly recommend you watch them. I've seen all of them, and they're incredible videos. You can really understand the scene of a city in 15 minutes, and Bench enabled that. I mean, you know, I kind of, my association, you know, you're talking about
it's a really work fit, right?
For me, as a fan, as a viewer of that content, I walked away thinking, thank you, Bench. That was awesome.
Yeah, but this is exactly it. It's all about gratitude. Whereas, you know, previously it was all about the sort of unholy push, just trying to ram your product's superiority down people's throats. Now it's like, you know, bedroom eyes, etc. It's a whole new world, and it's obviously, I mean, you've got the association between David Guetta and, is it Pepsi or Coke? I can't remember. Whatever.
Sometimes it doesn't matter.
It's done the job then.
Yeah, exactly. Got me. there was Skrillex with Samsung Galaxy 3, Swedish House Mafia with Absolute, which is a great fit. You know, the list is long, it's getting longer.
I mean, it's funny though what you said about Coke versus Pepsi. This is, you know, the challenge of brands is to do it right, to do it in a way that is authentic, genuine, credible, adds value to a scene, to a specific group of people, but actually has cut through. People recognize that it's them that did it. Because, you know, so often I hear people say, yeah, that campaign that I can't remember which brand it was, you know, that laptop brand, or, you know, some drinks brand, and, you know, they don't get cut through. And there's a lot of money is being wasted on campaigns that actually don't really benefit the brand.
Well, that certainly in my case, that's more about the artist, to be honest, than anything. I mean, it's just, if I see something with David Guesser, I kind of automatically switch off. Wonderful though he is at what he does, it just doesn't do it for me. You know? But I mean, there are plenty of examples of branded content that do it for me. And I just actually wondered, amongst the Brazilians here, are there any examples of Brazilian artists being co-opted by brands and actually being, basically the brand is tapping into their fan base and creating a sort of, using their affinity, but also, you know, obviously both parties benefit and the public gets great content in some way, shape or form. That was a very long question.
That happens in LA.
Yeah?
It does. Yeah. No.
Tell us, no? Okay.
Hey, yeah.
What about someone like Guy Barato? Is he like ever on a L'Oreal advert? Have you ever get that?
I was going to talk about the Brazilian ones.
Yeah.
There are some Brazilian singers that usually they are related to media brands. That happens a lot. Marcelo D2 with the Antarctica, which is the beer in Carnival now. So they associate with the singer and then get all of the audience to, both, as you said, both benefit from it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Just saying.
And the audience gets something a bit special. You know, sure. No, it's a very interesting area.
And also with shampoo, cosmetic things. We had a beautiful Gisele Bündchen, and we use celebrities a lot as ambassadors.
It's more commercial DJs though.
Huh?
It's more all the commercial DJs that are linked with these brands. You don't see like Ricardo Villalobos or Richie Watson being linked to shampoo. You know what I mean? Or like, well,
Dave Clark advertising handkerchiefs.
It's the kind of, you go with a brand and it's just kind of, it's the artists that, like you said earlier in the panel, that want to sell all the singles, you know. It depends on the artist and, like you said about the success thing, what they see as success, you know. Sure. You get a big brand behind it, they're going to get bigger because of audience.
One of the things that's quite interesting in terms of the process that goes on behind all of these things is that if you look at the kind of a major label and the way they treat their artists, they'll have a massive consumer audience segmentation, and they'll know, you know, very precisely what the makeup of that artist's fan base is, the age, the lifestyle, their habits, their interests. They can map that then against a brand, right? You know, if they find a specific brand that has a similar demographic audience. And, you know, when you talk to the marketeers and you talk to the guys within the record labels that look after brand partnerships, they will very specifically talk about how we don't see this as just dollar signs. You know, if we approach a brand and we're just all about the dollars, they'll tell us to F off, because it's very much about, you know, mutual value and enabling things that wouldn't have happened otherwise. There was an interesting case study with a British rock band whose name I've forgotten now. The guys from Slough, who did they were, you know, kind of a rock band that appealed to football fans. So they worked with an ad agency to find a brand, and I think it was like it was Puma or Adidas in the end, who funded a video with like really massive football stars with the brand's music, and it was massive on YouTube. It promoted the brand, it promoted the track, but there was no exchange of revenue at all. You know, it was just that the brand paid for the video and the artist provided the track.
Interesting. We have somebody who wants to make a comment.
I was just going to say, we have now Felgook with Valentine's from Renault Ricard. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We got Felgook teaming up with Valentine's from Renault Ricard. So they are I don't know what they have done yet, but they're going to do some.
Oh, so this is kind of an ongoing thing. Okay.
Yeah, and then first producer, we're going to produce an event with Felguk soon. And
you're involved in the thing?
No, not
okay.
An event that we're going to produce soon. They actually, it's easier for us to get a sponsor and getting like selling a special space in our event for Belgium, for example. So
sure.
She has and a good another example is Run DMC with Adidas and made like a song. That's a great event.
They sold shell tops. There's no two ways about it. It's so true what you say about brands. It's so sick of people going, "Can we have some money?" You know, it's like it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that at all. Duda, you have some stuff for us, right?
First of all, Gary and the partners of the table, stage, I'd like to apologize for my delay. I arrived on time, but unfortunately I was expecting that our conversation was the next one, not this one.
This one after this?
Yes. Wow. You know, we didn't know each other previously, so when I step in, I look at you, I didn't recognize, so I was waiting for the next one.
That pink guy.
Yeah. I brought here, so primeiro eu queria pedir desculpa, eu vou falar em inglês em respeito aos nossos convidados estrangeiros. Acho que fica mais fácil para quem está com a tradução ouvir em português do que a gente fazer o oposto. So I brought for this discussion here a little bit of what how we work with our sponsorship packages that we do for our own events, such as Rock in Rio, Sonar, the Rio de Janeiro Marathon, the half marathon of the bridge here, of the Guanabara Bay Bridge, and some other events that how we manage and how it's a tool that we have inside our company called Relevance. And Relevance is a Spanish consulting company that we brought here to Brazil about 1.5 years ago, and we are already working for Volkswagen, for PepsiCo Foods, and also PepsiCo Beverages.
I mean, you run a series of huge brands, right? Huge event brands. Do you get?
What do you mean event brands?
Well, I mean, Rock in Rio is a brand.
Proprietary events. We call proprietary events.
Sure.
Yeah, we operate in three main areas. The first one is this, the brands that are ours, the events that we own, we create, we produce, we sell, we operate, we sell the ticket, we communicate, we do from A to Z. We take the risk, we benefit, we lose money. We are entrepreneurs in this area. The second area is third-party production. So we produce both for clients, activations, sponsorship activations, product launches, and so on and so forth. And inside this area also we are hired to build events for third-party, for owners that are not ours. And such as the Street Carnival of Rio. This event belongs to Rio, to the city of Rio, not us.
You do all the logistics.
Yeah, we do logistics. We are shit producers. You know what shit producers mean? We take care of all the xixi and the produtores de merda. We are shit producers. And so Street Carnival, the World Youth Day, the event for the church, for the Vatican, that is coming next July. So we are hired by third parties, by other groups, to produce their events. And the third area, which is this one that I'm showing you now, is the consulting area. And inside this area, we have a joint venture with this Spanish company called Relevance. Okay. And we are, since the end of 2011, we are operating here already with those three clients: PepsiCo Foods, PepsiCo Beverages, and also Volkswagen. So I brought here a few slides. This is like 97, 98 slides, but I just brought kind of 10 that I would like to share and hear from everyone here what you think about it, and kind of share our experience on how we work, how we deal with values and attributes of brands, and both for sponsors and the sponsorship assets, the assets and brands, and how we kind of created this tool together with them to make it easier to everybody. Well, I think that we are not anymore living on an era that the relationship between, oh, I know the marketing director of the company, so he's my friend, or he's the cousin of my best friend, and how we kind of tend, especially here in Brazil, we tend to believe that this is oh, I didn't sell my package, I didn't sell my project because I have no good relationship, I don't know the owner, I don't know, and that's not necessarily true. That helps a lot, but that's time to time, year by year, that's kind of less and less important. And the companies and your friend in the company will require more and more scientific ways to evaluate the return on investment.
Absolutely. I mean, this is something we were saying earlier, is that we now live in an age of almost total transparency. I mean, you know, the advertising industry used to be awash with bullshit and ridiculous claims about effectiveness and reach and all this sort of stuff. But these days, hey, it's there. It's quicker.
Everybody kind of understands a little bit about sponsorship or branding, soccer, politics. Everybody has an opinion about it. Oh, my project, how come Coca-Cola doesn't buy my project? Everybody, Coca-Cola fits with everything, right? So if I have a paintball tournament, I want to knock on Coca-Cola's door. All the telcos, all the banks, and put yourself on their chair, on their position. How they evaluate if it's a paintball or the National Soccer League or whatever. So I think that everybody knows that. You know, I'm not saying anything new. So because of that, my friend, vamos lá. Alguns slides eu vou passar mais rápido, porque são muito poluídos e nem eu vou enxergar daqui. Mas se me permitam ficar de costas aqui um minuto. Então, a estratégia é isso. Isso aqui não vamos para o próximo slide, por favor. Alguns que são mais... Então, vamos lá, vou tentar fazer ler em português e falar em inglês, vai testar os meus neurônios, mas vamos lá. We're talking about affinity of territories, right? I don't know if you guys can maybe check there or here. Feel free.
Sure. We're just probably going to get some translation.
No, I will talk in English. I will try.
Okay.
I will try. I will do my best. So we kind of map out, and this is true. This is all true data. This is a research that we did in the end of 2011. So it's about a year ago, and we did that for Volkswagen, and we kind of map out. This is just an example, and I want to show here that this is a sports example. It's not a music example. It's not an electronic music map. It's just for you to understand how we analyze the properties, and we can apply that tool to any territory that we want. So it's just to have a clear reference of what is the tool is about. So how is each activity oriented? For example, on the upper right hand, you have the higher popularity and focus. So that means that football, Formula One, video game, martial arts, and volleyball, and all the ones on the upper right hand, they have more popularity and focus from the audience. In the other extreme, on the left,
Bottom left.
bottom left, you have the lower popularity and non-focused activities such as cycling, gymnastics, horsing, squash, peteca, rowing, polo, whatever. Vamos pro próximo. This is a kind of a combination of territories. Given the fact that I'm already sponsoring soccer, what is the optimal combination of territory for my brand? So if I already, let's say Itaú sponsors soccer, what is the next territory that I get the best, the optimum return on investment in terms of combination? So as we see here, in territory goes from travels to film, foreign international films, literature, magazines, comedy, theater, to kart, to athletics, urban sports, table tennis, and soccer. Of course, soccer is the peak, right? It's the right hand with soccer times soccer is one. So the best combination is travels. Based on the attributes, because I would need to show like maybe 20 to 30 slides more to understand the concept behind this chart. This is already the concept already resumed, but we do this kind of cross territories to understand for the brand, for the client, again, inside the consulting area for the brand. So we are providing services of consulting for the brands, helping them identify which territory should they sponsor. Okay, next.
Travels and peteca.
Yes, but peteca will not provide the reach and the quantity, but in terms of values, based on the research, 5,000 questions online to, you have a kind of criteria. You find attributes, not necessarily. If we go to this other map, this other slide, we see the total coverage or the total reach and the overlap between territories.
What is peteca, by the way?
Peteca. How do we translate?
Peteca.
Peteca is
Hey, thanks.
It's like a sand bag that you throw up.
Badminton without
badminton without the racket.
Yeah, without the racket.
With your hand.
We call that fives or eaten fives in English.
Yeah.
There's kind of a Basque version as well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but there they have the pelota.
Yeah, not with the racket.
Just have like a padded
Yeah,
drum.
the racket is
It's a really sound game.
Badminton without a racket. Badminton without racket.
Yeah. So in this example, music, soccer, and swimming, the winning option for a total reach of 94.5% of combination. The optimum territory combination would be this soccer, music, and swimming in terms of attributes. Because you find swimming, you see on the left hand. I don't know if you can read from that, but you see the attributes of the brand sport, the brand swimming, the brand soccer, the brand music. When you ask people in open questions what they feel about, what they understand, what are the attributes that come to your mind when I tell you swimming, spontaneously, 5,000 people answering, they answer like that. And that says that superação, it's very, very often mentioned, but superação, because it's gray, blue, and orange are the three colors, right? I don't know if you see the blue, the gray, and the orange.
I don't see orange.
The orange is very small because the words, for example, here superação on the right hand for soccer.
Yeah.
Superação is very, very mentioned, very oftenly mentioned. But superação in soccer people see less superação, less overcoming, right? Superação is overcoming.
Okay.
People understand that soccer is less overcoming than other sports in terms of attributes.
Okay.
So if you're a brand that you're looking for certain attributes to build your brand, you can search today, and in Spain already for the last 6 years, you can search exactly what are the territories that will really deliver what you're looking for. Today the marketeers, the good marketeers, they are kind of alchemists of brand building, and they have tools to do that. It's not like I think, I believe, because we are on a very subjective business. Right?
Can I just interject and bring it a little bit back to music? So one of the things I think is really interesting, and I've spent a lot of my time working on these kinds of projects when I used to be a brand consultant, helping brands understand who they are, who is their audience, how do they then communicate with that audience in an effective and relevant way. I think the challenge for music is that if we're trying to sell our properties to brands to sponsor our activities, we're up against every other Tom, Dick and Harry that's trying to do the same, right? So with my business, with Mixcloud, we tend to compete with YouTube, with Facebook, with Twitter. These are incredibly large, sophisticated businesses that have a lot of access to data, and they sell their advertising products in a very scientific and very quantitative way. So and I think with music, the way I think about it is that we need to do two things: demonstrating ROI, like you mentioned, but both before and after. At the moment, we're selling music based on stories, and we need to turn that into a science. So what we're trying to work on a lot at Mixcloud is when we talk to brands, the pitch at the beginning has a lot of science to it. It's here's the numbers we're going to deliver, here's the audience we're going to deliver, here's the projected return on investment, and then post-campaign we can evaluate and report against what actually happened. So it's not just about demonstrating ROI post-campaign, it's about being able to know what you're going to deliver pre as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I would say the ideal way of doing it. Is not about measuring only. It's about establishing prior to deciding what are the KPIs, what are the key performance index that you are looking on that venture, on that initiative. What are my objectives? Am I suffering a problem of consideration, brand consideration? Am I suffering familiarity problem? Am I suffering what is my target, my public questioning about me? So,
and on that note, there's a really interesting quote that the UK marketing director for Nike famously said: "Advertising is about increasing awareness about your brand. Everyone knows who we are, so we don't advertise anymore. We just do cool things so people engage with our brand more closely." So what he's trying to say there is, and of course they do advertise, it's like the bollocks, but what he's saying is that actually, because everyone knows who we are as a brand, and the biggest brands in the world do have near on 100% awareness, they have to focus on the next stage of, there's a thing in the marketing world called AIDA, A-I-D-A, which is awareness, interest, desire, action. And every piece of communication sits somewhere along that spectrum to try and get people into that next kind of stage of the funnel until they eventually make a purchase. Now, if everyone's already aware, you have to focus on interest. Once people are interested in your brand, you get them to desire your product. Post-desire is action, which is a purchase.
I think, sorry, just to jump in, I think we're talking about evaluation and KPIs and this type of thing, but Nikhil's completely right. To use the examples we talked about before, the bench RA videos, the main thing about that was that it was almost a unique piece of video content for electronic music, because nearly all videos in electronic music are promotional, because they cost quite a lot to make. So obviously someone has to fund it, and that means that they generally tend to be a promotional kind of video, and it's bullshit basically. These documentaries were kind of unique. They were almost, there have been other videos, but they were almost the first kind of documentaries done in that style. I mean, how can Bench measure the impact of that? It's really difficult. The same way Red Bull, how do they measure the success or the impact of a man jumping from space? It's almost impossible to.
Well, you know, yeah, I mean,
to measure that.
I don't know how many people watched it live on YouTube, but it was an awful lot. Yeah. And then you got the post hits and stuff. I mean, it's pretty quantifiable, I think. I mean, there's another bloody Arcade Fire again. They did the thing for Toshiba Intel, which is called The Downtown. It's one of their songs. And basically, you input your home address and Google Earth images of where you grew up become part of the video, which I think is an absolutely brilliant way of engaging, using a really kind of what's the word? A really redolent sort of song, a song that talks about sort of being a kid and where you live and stuff, and then actually injecting a person's reality into that.
That's really cool. The guy that did that project, his name's Aaron Coblin. He works at Google, doing kind of data art, data visualization. He's got some loads of really cool projects where he's taken data and kind of communicated that through art and visualizations in really interesting ways. And this is one of them. He's done another thing with music videos where he's got thousands and thousands of people around the world to draw a scene from a video and mapped it all together, so it's completely crowdsourced.
Sure.
Really, yeah. Do check him out. It's very cool.
I think one of the most, I mean, getting it back to the electronic scene, one of the most bizarre times is Deadmau5 with Sonos. I mean, Sonos is fantastic, but Deadmau5, potty mouth, total and utter liability, you know? I mean, every time he opens his mouth, he offends somebody. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, but it kind of works, right? If you've seen the app, I mean, they've got Questlove as well, and I think they've got Lana Del Rey, and they're all just, very, very simple videos showing an artist in their home environment listening to Sonos. Deadmau5 is in the kitchen, opens his fridge, plays a song on his Sonos, closes his fridge, makes a cup of tea, puts another song on. It just shows the power of the application and how it can be used in a really natural environment with an artist that, for him, obviously sound and quality of sound is very important. So they've chosen the right kinds of artists that work with the attributes of the brand.
Totally, in terms of credibility and yeah, I think that's it.
I think you were talking before about transparency, and these are all classic examples of the idea of a marketing director in a suit making these decisions about what to do is completely obsolete now. It's really interesting for me to hear that these companies are using you to kind of access the brands and do it that way rather than making the decisions themselves, because they know you've got the experience of having done that through Rock in Rio or whatever it may be. And it's kind of like it's smart on their part to know that they can do that and reach people.
Of course, when we are prospecting new clients for this tool, for example, is trying to show them that it's not a commodity, it's not only a tool, but it's also a consulting based on our experience, that we are sometimes sellers, and because we are selling our packages, we can evaluate better for the clients to buy better. So we play on both fields or on both chairs of the table. Of course, that you have good things for that, but bad things also. We pay a price because sometimes a client on the consulting area doesn't buy our sponsorship for our own event for some reason. But that's the independence of the tool has to be serious, right?
It's very, very clever what you've done. I mean, I've come across a few businesses in the UK and US now who have started to develop this same model of using insight, consultancy and research as a way to engage a new client on a fairly small project basis and use that to develop a bigger relationship to unlock more money for sponsorship. And it's clever that you've tapped into that.
Yeah, we kind of 2 years ago because we operate in two themes, in those 3 areas, but in 2 main markets, the entertainment and the sport. We launched the consulting area on the sports company, and we then open again for the entertainment, kind of expanded for the entertainment industry, and we are using this tool to sell the sponsorship for Sonar, for Rock in Rio, for the projects, and it's kind of helping is not to say that every client, because of the tool, every client could buy the project. No, it's not true. The project is interesting more or less depending who is buying, right? That's why the price of a sponsorship shouldn't be fixed price for anyone. Sponsorship depends on who is buying. The value of a sponsorship depends on who's buying. 5 million reais or 1 million reais, whatever, for Rock in Rio for a bank has a different value for a car industry, for a telco industry, and so on and so forth. So, but because our market still doesn't have a standard in terms of valuation, like this, could be this, but could be any other standard, we kind of sell, okay, I learn how is my costs. For example, Rock in Rio selling more than 100 million reais in sponsorship. One edition.
That's for the actual live event. That's not the televised version.
No, for the
concert.
2013 festival.
For one edition, in just here or globally?
No, just the Rio edition. And to make that happen, it's kind of we are still working on the way that the market is still working. Ourselves, Rock in Rio, Sonar, and the Rio Marathon, we sell like 3 packages of 2 million, for example. We are still on that because the market wouldn't understand, wouldn't accept. Okay, for the bank is 3 million, for the car is 1.5, for the telco is 3.2. No. So, but in my opinion, I'm just sharing here what is my vision. I truly believe that in few years from now, the market will define a topic or a standard or a tool or a tool.
Sure.
Is really coming on the next curve to give this freedom to pay the fair price.
Yeah,
the optimum price.
The other important variable, I don't know how much this happens to you, but
Sorry, so sorry. No, he had a question, but
No, I just want I'm William. I just want to ask you, how do you make? When you're trying to get a sponsorship, yeah, for your festival, for example, do you give that to the sponsor? How much you're gonna charge for every quote, or you let it open to them? That's my project, and how much you're gonna give to have your brand in my project? So you just give to him like one specific price, or you just make me an offer, you know?
No, but as I was saying, we are still working on the model that we define the commercial package strategy. Let's say the Rio Marathon. Oh, we have one presenting package, one title sponsorship.
Do you decide the price of each one? Do you decide the price of each one?
One price for each level, and let's go to the market. We are still operating on what I would call the current status of the market.
And then you negotiate.
But I believe, and then we negotiate. We go, okay, this is my suggested price, and then we go. If we stimulate the competition inside that industry, and that's a very good strategy. On the street carnival, for example, the beer category is the main one, of course. So Antarctica, this year we had a very, very strong competition between two brands. That was very intense. On the marathon, the sportswear category is vital, and in the electronic atmosphere, the one that we are now, for sure, drinks and beverages and it's vital, and each category has a major 1 or 2 categories, right?
Sure.
I was going to be rebellious and ask I think the panel's called "How to Seduce Big Brands to EDM."
Yeah.
I think it was at IMS, maybe it might have been an ADE panel, and I think it was a guy from Beatport, but I may be mistaken, and he was saying that electronic music is the nirvana moment for electronic music. We're in this kind of lucky situation where less than 20 years ago, electronic music was kind of well, it was taboo. It was kind of front page of British press for all the wrong reasons. And now you have these big, unbelievably global brands, huge, the biggest brands in the world. And there isn't really much seduction going on. They're coming to electronic music because they want a piece of the action, because electronic music's so big, it's so commercially profitable for them to get involved with. It's pop music, as we talked about in a previous panel. You know, Deadmau5 can say all he wants on Twitter, but he has, I don't know, 20 million fans on Facebook. So kind of, it's, I don't know how much seduction's actually going on really.
Yeah.
It's probably more the other way around.
Yeah. Nikhil, you were going to say something about another variable.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting question actually. It's just a really simple point going back to what you're talking about in terms of this, you know, kind of how do you set a price on a sponsorship, on a title package or secondary tier. One of the things that we encounter a lot, and I suspect it's probably more relevant to RA as well, and I think across dance music this is probably going to happen a lot more, is that brands will associate themselves with a dance music property based on some sort of brand fit, right? It's got to be a relevance and a benefit to both parties, like we talked about earlier. So the negotiation is going to be revolving around the commercials, but also the strategic value. So whenever we talk to big brands, you know, we work with all the usual suspects: Red Bull, Smirnoff, Corona, Nike, Converse. A lot of the conversations have kind of, you know, well, this is what we're giving you as well, right? You're going to get to piggyback off our brand and our audience, and we're going to post content from Mixcloud to our Facebook page to our 30 million fans. So actually, you should pay us less because we're going to do this for you. So there's a lot of kind of, you know, we're giving you value as well, which is sometimes quite frustrating.
I totally agree. My perception, I'm not an expert or black belt like you are on the EDM market, in the electronic business, but I'm a marketeer and much more a generalist than a specific market. In my opinion, the advanced music market, the electronic music market is like it's like the mixed martial arts market in terms of product, in terms of territory. I'm just comparing, not in terms of attributes. It's not a negative comparison. It's just in terms of moment of the territory. Here in Brazil, I'm not saying abroad, here in Brazil, putting an event like Sonar, like Rio Music Conference, Sensation, and it's really hard to build the bridges between those brands and the sponsors. It's still perceived as a niche segment, very niched. And because of that, the sponsorship ticket has to be cheap, has to be small, because it's last year we succeeded for some reason. I cannot say one reason, but a few reasons. We had a very good performance on sponsorship for Sonar. Okay, it's an international brand. Already happened here in Brazil in 2004, but it's very segmented, and we found Doritos, we found Citroën, we found Red Bull, Go, Samsung, very mainstream brands, but it's very hard to have those brands and to keep those brands on the business because of the size of the market. And when I was comparing to the MMA mixed martial arts territory or the Brazilian soccer in early 80s, let's go back. Yesterday I had a meeting with Nunes, who was a world champion player, Flamengo, very famous fan, you know, idol of a generation. He was at the beginning of the boom. He couldn't have the chance to make his money as some players that played 5 years or 10 years after him. The same concept is happening now on the mixed martial arts. The big athletes, the big fighters that we know from 10 years ago, they are now 35 years, 37 years. They are more to, okay, let me step out because I'm going to be hit by the youngers. They are not. So what I'm trying to build here is a concept that I'm definitely confident and sure that those niche markets, they will grow, but we have to be very conscious about the moment and be very realistic on our packages, on our pricing, on, you know, be very realistic on the size of a business, and just talking in terms of Brazilian market.
I guess it depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? I mean,
yeah.
From my experience building our business, we've really benefited in the first instance from positioning ourselves as niche, specialist audience, very passionate music lovers, technology savvy. So, you know, back when we first started the service and we only had a few 100,000 users, it meant that we could engage larger brands to spend money on our audience because of the quality of the audience and the depth of the engagement. And now that we have, you know, now that we're reaching a bigger scale, it's, you know, it's obviously a bit easier. But actually, you know, niche is good sometimes because it spells some element of engagement and passion.
Yes.
And so it's about striking that balance. I think, you know, playing back to the question of the panel, how does EDM do it? Well, I think the elephant in the room is this phrase EDM. I mean, most people in the UK are like, what the hell is EDM? You know, no one really knows what the phrase is and why it started in the first place. I'd actually love to hear who invented it and how it came about. Do you know the story?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'd love to know how the phrase came about. But certainly, you know, we've just been calling it dance music for the last several years. But actually, it's just music, right? You know, and music, if you talk about niche versus versus mainstream, you don't get more mainstream than music. So if you're selling Sonar as a sponsorship package to a brand, you say it's a music festival. Everyone loves music, right? So, and then you say, well, within music, it's this particular genre, and there's an audience of this many people that listen to it, and they're this passionate, and actually, you could probably tell a very easy story about how mainstream it is now, because
it's very credible, right?
Yeah. But you know, we position our business as music, and we help brands engage with music online, and that opens up a lot of doors because, you know, music is it's big. Everyone loves music. It's sexy, and then, you know, we go in with a particular focus.
Understand what you're saying, but I tend to disagree in terms of I'm a niche person. My friend Claudine, he knows me from the time that I organized kite surfing events. So that's how I started in this business 12, 13 years ago. So I love niche segments, niche sports. I understand that. But when we are, I'm not saying that it doesn't have a value, of course, especially when a brand strategist is trying to complement territories. As we saw, I have a mainstream territory, but I want to find more quality relationships, so I find 1, 2, or 3 niche territories to complement my business strategy. That's very nice. But when it's hard to say for a EDM product, let's say the festival, let's say Sonar, which is a brand, established brand already, to convince that it's a music festival comparable to other music festivals. It's like saying that kitesurf is sport. So it's not, kitesurf is a sport, but it's a niche sport. It's not comparable to soccer. Although sports is a mainstream area. Everybody loves sports, whether it's for practicing or watching or consuming news or whatever. So when it goes down to pricing, you can benefit from that. Of course, when I organize kitesurf events, of course I had benefit. But to have the deals, brand, we are talking about brand connection and how we expand the limits of our industry to grow, so this pie gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And to have these bigger connections, in my opinion, we need to work, fine-tune the attributes of the segment. Fine-tune the attributes of the segment. It's my opinion.
We're kind of out of time. If anybody has a last question, speak now or forever. Okay. Oh,
Can I ask?
thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for Duda. Let's say dealing with smaller events for like 2,000 people. If I was to prospect it, I want sponsors to go in invest into my project. Is it a better way to divide my project? Let's say I have a small party, divide my project into small products, or should I just sell like the title sponsoring and stuff? Because we've been having a lot of trouble with. We have a lot of projects. My company, I forgot the name of the word.
Agency.
Yeah, and we had a lot of we had a better like we started doing it right now actually a few months ago, dividing the project into little projects. So let's say we have a party, we sell the stage to a Red Bull, for example, and sell something to Absolute. I just wanted to ask you, you have a lot of experience. Is that a better way to go, or for small products, or is it still better to sell or improve my product and sell it better?
I think, in my opinion, it's a mix of. It's not only one medicine that will solve. It's not a magical solution, right? Definitely, it's a kind of a combination of bringing title sponsorship for the package versus creating specific and exclusive moments for each brand. Especially, but I have to go back to the examples. I think the best example, for example, when we sold the naming rights of the Rio Marathon for Caixa, which is a national bank here, one of the biggest bank in the country. It's hard when you sell a naming right. It's hard to sell the other sponsorships. It's very, very, very hard. The value. Yeah, because if okay, I want to buy now a quote package for Rio Marathon. Inside, I'm a Coca-Cola. Am I a brand to be a secondary brand on the Rio Marathon, or am I the brand to be the brand on the event? So in that problem, we created exclusive properties inside the marathon. So we created the half marathon for another brand. We created the family run 6K for the Olympics, the sportswear brand. We created the training series starting 6 months before the marathon. 6 months we already delivering in terms the marathon
And
creating stories and engaging the community of runners on our brand marathon, the Rio Marathon, but on the other hand creating exclusive opportunity for a new client like Light, the energy company of the city. They wanted to sponsor, but okay, you already have Caixa, you have Olympics, you have Gatorade, you have this and that. Why should I give you 1.5 million reais, for example? Okay, you co-sponsor the whole thing, the umbrella, but you are the naming rights of an exclusive moment. So in this example here, it's like, okay, if I'm not wrong, this is Ibiza room. The Ibiza room is powered by, we are not inventing the wheels, like just using concepts that are there on the market, on previous experience and so on. So I would go to this, and of course, as you mentioned, 2,000 people, you are on the real niche segment. So it's important, as he was saying, that you work much more on the qualitative perspective.
Experience.
Yeah, the quality of the experience, the quality of the relationship that you can deliver to your client, rather than 2,000 is too much. I would go this way.
Cool. Thank you very much. And on that note, we have to stop. Thank you all for coming. And thank you for staying.